Hello friends, welcome back to my hobby home. My name is Cathy. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you are enjoying your Saturday. I am doing something today that I just kind of had a brain whimsy, of like, hey, let me try this. I bet this would be really cute. So friends, and these are going to be some kits that I have in my D-stash. Let me show you here. I have this Paper Pieces. This is a free pattern on Paper Pieces website. And you see there, we have the 3 rows. I'm counting that 1, 2, 3. I am going to make a grandmother's garden flower. I don't know what this is called. It's a garden flower. It's hexagons. I am going to show you guys how I make this. I am making a trivet with just one of these squares. So friends, this is what the kits will look like. They have everything in here. Now, I'm not including batting or the thermolam, I think that's what it's called. I'm not including that because I'm going to let you decide what you want to use. In mine today, I'm using just regular batting. I am going to show you from beginning to end how I make this. So let me get you turned down to my table. I'm going to show you doing my EPP or my English paper piecing, how I do it. I do not hand stitch. I do know I have a video back a while ago on how I do my EPP. But this is for somebody that does not have the dexterity in their fingers to do this and would like to do everything by machine sewing. So friends, one moment, let me turn you down. Okay friends, here you can see I have my 3 pieces here. How my flower is going to go. My center is going to be the red. Then I'm going to have a row of black hexagons around the red. And then I'm going to have a row of red around all of it. So let's get started on how we are going to do this. This is a Tack It Easy. It's a 1.5 inch hexagon because that is the size my hexagons are going to end up being. You can find this, I believe, at Fat Quarter Shop. There are some other places where you can find it as well. So let's just get started on how we do this. I take my fabric, I turn it face down. Now on this, you're going to put it, I put mine on the inside of it. I didn't do it on the outside. But you've got this groove here. And then you've got this little notches in the flaps. What I try to do when I lay my fabric on there is I try to get the same distance from the notches to my fabric all the way around. If I'm not, that is okay. But what I do after that is I lay my paper piecing right in the center. Let me kind of get y'all centered here. And this is my glue pen. I just take my glue pen, make sure I've got it wound up a little. I have been told not to put a lot because it will be hard to get my papers out, but I will show y'all what I'm doing for my papers instead. And you'll see I just put a little glue all the way around, and I just go all the way here. And on the edge here, I put a little on this fabric because when you fold it down, you want your fabric to go down right there in that corner so it doesn't pop up. And I do that once I get it all the way. I do it on all the sides of the fabric because I want my fabric laying down. I don't want it poking up. Now, I'm not putting an extreme amount of glue on this. And this here, we're ending that last one. Now, this will be our centerpiece of our hexagon. So the next thing, and you'll make 12 more of these to go on the outside. So let's go on and make our other red, because what it is, you have one red for the center. I'm doing my red as my center. You'll have one red as your center. Then you will have 6 black pieces for your first full row. And then for your outer row, you will have 12 pieces. And see, I'm just getting this. This takes no time at all, friends. If you are thinking about Christmas gifts already, this could be something really, really cute. Give a cute little trivet. I'm not making mine hot pads. I'm making mine more like, well, it could be a hot pad. If you want to double just your regular batting, I guess you could. Uh-oh. I wasn't quite on track with that one, was I? I wasn't far enough up. Okay. Sometimes this piece can get off-centered, and that can mess up. So now I have my last 2. I've already done several of these. Now right here are the rest of my red hexies. Let me finish my black hexies here. I have one more to do on this. I did go ahead and pre-form hexies, and I did do some stitching already, just to kind of have some done for you guys so you can see it. And friends, I can see doing a lot of these as Christmas gifts this year. And if my children are watching, you may get one in your stocking. But these are so cute, so easy to make, and quick. And if you're making quilts and you have any leftover fabric, friends, what a way to use it up. And they make just beautiful gifts. You have someone that has an outdoor kitchen even, this would be beautiful. So there we have our last black one. So what I do once I finish this, I roll my glue back up in my pen because we don't want it to make a mess. And I'll get all of my black hexies together. And I know I have a shadow, but I have these done. I'm finished with my Tack It Easy. I'm just going to put it over here. So now let me show you what I've already got done. I already have this much sewn here. So what I'm going to do now, your best bet when you're starting out is you just take 2 pieces and put them end to end like that. Now on my machine, I have a Bernina. I'm using the 20C foot. And I'm doing the number 2 zigzag at a 4.7 width and a 0.4 length. And that makes you have almost a satin stitch look. I'll show you there. You see how close that is right there? It just looks really, really good. Now, you could make it closer and make it almost a true satin stitch. So, let's get on the machine. I'm going to put my table on my machine here. I'm going to try to keep you guys down where you can see how I do this. Okay, friends. So, now we have our, yes, I have 4. Well, I actually have 6. So what we want to see here is how do we have these laid out. These all go one side by side and then they go to the other angle. You're not going to do straight across. Now when you come to the red, you will go 3 straight across. And then I'll do 1, 2, and then I'll do a third one here. So the first thing I'm going to do is my red right in the center. Now, I am going to show you how I do that. You see here, I'll line these up. and I press it to make sure it's flat. So I am going to start with my piece right here. Now, how I can tell where I'm at is I have a center line right here on this foot. And I have a laser light on my machine. I have it turned on so I can tell where I am at on that. Now, when I put that foot down, I can see that my line right here is even with that. So I'm going to go on and put my needle down there. And then I'm going to feel these seams to make sure they're flat and not overlapping anywhere. And we'll just do this real slow. Try to do it where you can see what I'm doing. I'm making sure that seam is staying on that center line, and I'm just doing it real slow here so you guys can see it. Now, I am going to tell you, when you get to the corners, you may pick up and then backspace it or do a back stitch, and that is perfectly fine. Normally, I use my dual control foot. Now, see, I've come right there to my stitches. So what I'm going to do is raise that foot up and turn it. And it does look like it is centered there. So we are just going to continue to stitch on that. And friends, this does not have to be perfect or precise, because I'm going to tell you, anyone that gets it is not going to be able to tell if anything was off on it, because it is going to be so beautiful. Now see, I'm up there to that stitch again. So I'm raising my foot and turning again. Now this right here, I am going to have to give a little spread there, because, and it, you know, I am going to have to do a little back stitch here because it's not exactly centered and I want my stitches to look really nice. So I just back stitch it back to the two seams and just make sure I'm following the center there, and I'm going all the way. And you see how I'm running off the edge there, and then I cut my thread. Once I take that off, I do trim my threads here. So now we have our center red, 3 of our black squares there. Got to get that thread. So now what I'm going to do is put another black right here. What I'm doing is just building onto my block, and I will do it the same way I did the red. I'm going to turn it, fit this together like a puzzle piece. And I notice my needle's on the right side of that thing, so I make sure to sit my laser light down to the right of the center. And it takes a little maneuvering to get it there. So friends, y'all can tell I am not doing any hand stitching here. None whatsoever. Now, this I noticed did not go all the way to the back, so let's just back stitch it. You will see here, my grandson saw this today and he was like, pillow. He was telling me pillow. Friends, I had to get me swallow of water there. This came from a friend of mine. And then I started thinking about it. I have a pillow made just like this from my grandmother. I will have to pull it out of my trunk because now this one here is going to have to be backstitched a little. I know, because let me just raise that needle up and move this over just a bit. And I'll pull it where I want it to be. See, sometimes you may have to adjust it multiple times. So let's do a little back stitching here, making sure that is centered. But anyway, what I was saying, I will have to go find that Lilo pillow because I actually think it's in my trunk. I'm pretty certain it's in my trunk. But my grandmother made me a hexagon pillow, and I may do that for my grandbabies. Oh, that goes together. Y'all, this right here goes perfect together. It's flat. It is so nice. Flat and tight. So now what I'm going to do is raise that needle. And that looks like that would be a great, looks like, I know I don't have you right overhead, but if I put you overhead, you don't get the right picture, I guess, because my camera does, it floods it with light, and it's very hard to see. So we are going to go ahead and finish up adding this block. And you'll see I'm sewing off the edge with that one. And we do trim. When we cut threads like that, we trim threads at the beginning. We cut threads at the end as well. So my next block is going to be this one right here. I want to put another red on there. So we're kind of building it one row at a time. Now, of course, this here, we're getting a little overhang here. So that means our pieces are getting a little tighter. We're going to have to get them a little bit tighter. But that is okay if we have to do that, because that doesn't hurt anything to have them a little bit tighter. Now, the reason I do such a close stitch length is because when this is sewing into that paper, it's also perforating it. So I should not have any trouble at all getting this to come apart. So now I'm going to raise that foot again. I'm going to move that over just a bit. Make sure we're centered. And see, don't be afraid to pick your needle up. If it's not where you want it to be, you can always pick that needle up and move your fabric. Just don't put too much strain on your thread. Let's see, we're finishing this one up here. There we go. So we're going to trim this. And friends, I have so many colors of these. I'm only doing, as of right now, I have 4 ready to add in the D-stash. And I did put a poll out yesterday, and so far everyone has said this Sunday is fine. So what I may do is go on and do it this Sunday. We're going to go on and work this black piece right here. Because what I'm doing is I'm working across this way. So we know we're going to line this up the best we can. We know we've got to meet together in that center right there. Now, of course, that's going to be tight. And I do see that my needle is on the left. So let's back it up. Get that needle on the left. And make sure you don't get your finger in the way, because the machine does not differentiate between flesh and fabric. We're going to lift this up. We're going to get that. Now this is where you start pressing closer. You hold it tighter at this point. But that is going to be okay. And I know my hand is in the way, friends. I know you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm just holding that real tight, because once that paper comes out of the center, it's not going to matter. And I will do a good press before I finish. Okay, friends, so here we are. We are on our last seam here. I think we're probably pretty close to centered on that seam. Okay, now I see that one of my pieces here, the fabric just kind of rolled up on it. So let's press that fabric back under there. That can do that. We're going to turn this back the way it should be, because we want that fabric caught under there. We're going to trim our threads, and I think what I'm going to do, you can do this whichever way you want to do. See that little bit of fabric there got rolled up a little bit. You can do all reds one, but what I'm doing is I'm building across. Like I said, I'm building across. So what I'm doing here is putting our last black hexagon on. Make sure it's where it needs to be. And I'm going to hold these tight, because we don't want that to walk anywhere. And friends, when I was doing this, I just thought, you know, there's so many things that we could do with this, these cuts. We could do placemats. We could do pillows, trivets. And when I remembered that pillow, guys, I'm not going to lie, I was really excited. I was like, I can make one just like my mama made me. I can make for my grandbabies. sew right off that edge there, trimming up my threads here. So it looks like now what I have are my 4 reds. Now that one feels a little different, but we're going to put our red here. Now see, as long as you're following the outer ring, you know, the ring in front of it, like you could start here and then you could start by adding your blacks on it, and then you could after you add your black ones, you could then add your, you know, of course, your next row, and just start by building off of those. I'm really enjoying. I got that die and Friends. Oh my goodness, it has already paid for itself in ease of use. Oh, I'm telling you, there is no way I could have cut by hand all of these pieces. Now, I haven't cut my 3rd color for my grandma's scrap quilt. I have not cut that 3rd color yet. I need to do that just one more. Get that over there. So when I turn this, I'm going to wipe that center so I can see that stitch line, because it gets a little dust on it and it gets hard to see. Hope y'all can see this, how I've got it centered. I know you can't see the center mark on there because I can barely see it. And now we're to our final one. Oh, that fits like a glove, Friends. I got a bunch of dusties on my machine right now. But we've got our stitch line there, centered on that foot. And friends, I'm going to go ahead and do all of these and then bring you right back to show you how I am going to stitch it closed. Okay, friends, we have our flower block done. What I am going to do now, I'm going to change my foot out, and I'm going to do a stitch all the way around the outside of it so it will also perforate this paper. Okay, I now have the 37D foot put back on my machine, and what I'm going to do is do this at 1/8 of an inch, and I have it at a 0.85 stitch length. And we're just doing that at that 1/8 of an inch. And then we are turning it. I think I need to do, no I don't. To do 1/8 of an inch this way. And we're going to do this all the way around the block here. So friends, if you want to try your hand at EPP, this may be the way to do it. A small project, see how you like it. I will have some of these, as I said, you know, I will be doing the D-stash tomorrow, Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Time. I do need to get that video recorded and set up as a premiere for you guys. Make sure to share it with friends. We have more than 30 items, but what I am doing these in sets. So like one set could have 5 of the same items in it. And you'll just bid on one, you won't bid, you'll claim whichever one you want in that set. Like these, just say these for instance, this would be classified as a set, but I have 4 of them. And you will just claim one of the 4 or all of the 4, or you know, whichever ones you want. I will show you the colors that are in those set, you know, in each project. I'm calling them sets. They're not really sets because they're not selling as sets. It's just like items. But please feel free, come back tomorrow evening at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will have a premiere out there for you guys to click the notify me if you are interested. And if you know someone else that you may think might be interested, make sure to shoot them a share. Let them know that we're doing a de-stash so they don't forget, because these may not be things that I kit up again. I'm trying to do as many kits as I can. I'm trying to find additional patterns that I can use some of my fabric with. And I have not even gotten to my bundles yet. I still have charm packs that I will be doing. I still have I have like loose fat quarters that I may just do some of those, you know, just as a bundle up a few fat quarters and just sell the fat quarters, you know, as random fat quarters. But friends, you definitely do not want to miss, because I am getting down to where, well, I'm not down to the bare necessities yet. I still have projects that I have coming in that I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do or not. And you know how that goes. Okay, friends, we now have our complete hexagon block. So what I am doing here, I would like to show you. I've got my stiletto. I've slid it right in here between the paper and my fabric. And I want to show you something. Look, it comes out the top. So this does perforate that paper well enough to where it just comes right out. Look at that. Comes right on out. Now, I am having to put that stiletto in there. And look at that. So be careful using your stiletto, friends. You don't want to poke yourself. So that did make real easy work. The stitch length is your friend when you're doing the EPP, I think. It will make it, and you know, if you want to, you could probably reuse these. I don't. But they come out real easy. They really do. I'm very shocked. I thought I might have a little trouble because I did not think about that when I was, now see right here, I did not use as close as stitch length because I was testing the stitch length. So the closer your stitch length, the easier the paper will be to come out. And y'all see, y'all are right here with me, seeing me do this in real time. I'm not editing this part anyway. You see me just sliding my stiletto in there, and look, friends, so easy. So easy. I'm so excited to have come across this and let my mind go wandering and going, how can I do this? Because I've seen so many people do EPPs and they just look so beautiful, and I'm just like, I really would like to do that, but my hands just won't cooperate, you know. Now this one here, I don't think this one, well, the outer stitches I know were a good close stitch. The closer the stitching, the better it is to get the paper out. Y'all see, I mean, literally no editing here. I'm not going to edit any of this part because I want y'all to see beginning to finish of taking these papers out, just how easy it is. Now, like I said, I had a few pieces that I was doing stitch length testing on, and some of these are a little bit difficult, but if you use that, like I use the 0.85 on the outside, and that seems to be a really good one on that straight stitch. On that zigzag, I think I used a 0.4. And this here, oh my goodness, y'all, this is a game changer for me. This is just absolutely fabulous. I'm so excited about this. Okay, so here are all my papers, every one of them. Of course, I'm putting them in the garbage because I don't need them. Now, let's see, what did we get done? So that is our trivet. Now, I have not decided if I am going to, I need to sew. I have I think a 14 by 14 piece of batting here. The only thing is, if I do my batting the way I'm thinking about doing it, I'm not going to be able to flip it. Now, that being said, I can do it where I have to bind it. I have my backing right here. Let me do my backing. I probably should have pressed this, and I did not. And I want to make sure, you know what, guys? I can probably do that. I know what I can do. I still need this foot, but what I'm going to do, I'm sitting here thinking, friends, I don't want to leave the batting kind of rough on the outside, but I'm going to. First thing I need to do is I am going to stitch, let me do that, 1/8 of an inch around my hexagons. And oh, that throws up some dust, don't it? And this is just going to quilt it. And I'm still using the black thread. because I do, and I'm quilting all the way through all of it. Okay, so once again, I'm just going through here and going around each block at 1/8 of an inch. But I just want to make sure that this does not bulk up, because you know, if it's in the kitchen, it is going to be used and washed, and we don't want any of the stuff bulking up. So what I'm going to do is just come to my next hexie here. I may not do, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do every single one of them. I did on the inside of this, so I think what I'll do is I did on the inside of this hexie, so I think I'll outline this one. So it's kind of like we're outlining each row. That's what we'll do, is outline each row. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that satin stitch on the edge, and then use my embroidery scissors and trim all the way around. I hope you guys can see this. You probably can't. Let me turn you down a little more. Okay, well, you can't really see me, but that's okay, because what you're wanting to do is see what I'm doing here. Because I'm just going all the way around each row now. We should be just about getting to where we started off at. You see, it's just as easy as going around everything. Now, you may want to go in and stitch, you know, between each block, but I'm thinking just doing each row is good enough. But if you are afraid your batting may bulk up when you wash, then by all means do that. Quilt it however you see fit. That's the thing. This is all however you want to do it. And this is a brainstorm idea that I just came up with when I was looking at these English paper piecing things that I was doing. And I'm like, there's got to be other things. I have seen little purses. I have seen, you know, like I said, my grandmother made me a pillow, so I know you can do pillows out of them. Okay, and there we are. We are back to where we started. Now, friends, I am going to trim this. Now, the next step, I am changing my foot out. I am putting it back to the 20C, which requires me to change it on my machine to the 20C. Now, once I do this, friends, I am going to put this under here, and I am going to do the number 2 on the Bernina home screen zigzag. It is at a 4.7 width and a 0.4 length. I am going to put the length at a 0.2, and I have got to see where that 0.7 ends. Let me put my needle down in the fabric, because I want my, okay, that is perfect. what I am doing is my stitches to where they come out right on the edge of my fabric. And it is almost seriously like a satin stitch. It is so tight and so close. I don't want to risk anything coming apart. I feel like this is not even moving, but I know it is. My needle ended. Oh, that is so pretty. And being that my stitch length is so small, it is going to take a while to do this. My goodness, friends, this is beautiful. This is seriously a satin stitch. And if you embroidery, if you do embroidery, a satin stitch is like a really close stitch that puts a beautiful finish on the edge. And that is what this is doing. And it's actually where I did that 1/8 inch all the way around. It is actually taking in that stitch. So it is really that beautiful. Wow. That is so pretty. That is so pretty. Oh my goodness, friends, this is going to take forever to do this satin stitch. But friends, this is how you can make a beautiful trivet. Like I said, I am doing the satin stitch here because I want that to have a good finish on it. I do not want it to have a rough edge, and instead of doing a flip on it, because I could not quilt it and flip it, and I don't want to hand bind. I don't want to bind. So my best option was to do a satin stitch on the edge like embroidery. Now, of course, remember, anything you do like this, if you wanted to use it in the microwave, you would have to make sure to use 100% cotton. Everything, even thread, even batting, all of it. Because anything else could possibly catch on fire, and you do not want that. Not after you've worked and made a beautiful piece. You don't want it to be ruined. But this could make a nice little, I'm not going to say a bowl holder, because I don't like bowl holders. But when you get things out of the microwave, it's just a little too hot. This could be perfect. Now, like I said, I did not use thermolam or whatever that's called. I'm just using cotton batting. And mainly what mine will probably be used for is taking things out of the microwave, or when I take a hot pot off a burner on my stove because I have a convection stove. Isn't that what that's called? Induction. I have an induction stove top. I do not want to ruin it by moving cast iron across it. So I have my actual hot pads that I sit pans on, and I'd like to get away from that. I don't want to be using my hot pads for that. But I would like to have a trivet to sit my pots on. And I'm trying to keep this all straight, friends, but it may not end up straight. I may be kicking myself for not pinning, but it looks like it's coming out pretty good. So friends, y'all stay here and I'll bring you right back as soon as I'm done. And friends, I am finished now. There is some trimming I need to do, but I think I have figured out how to do this without the white. Instead of doing the satin stitch, do it just like embroidery. Do your basting stitch all the way around and then come back and do your satin stitch, and it will cover these white edges. But friends, this is my trivet that I'll be using. Now, like I said, I am going to go back over this with a satin stitch once I get it trimmed real good. So it'll have a double satin instead of just the one. But I think the next one I make, I will just do a regular stitch, you know, all the way around. And then I'll come, you know, once I trim my batting and my backing off, then I will do the satin all the way around. But friends, quick, easy trivet. I was making it up as I went, just trying to figure out how I was going to do it. But I think that will be the way to do it. Everything turned out really nice. I think so. Let me show you where I did go ahead and do a second line right there. And you'll probably be able to tell you can't see the white there. So what I will do, I can see more of these in my future, my very near future. But I can do these, do that just straight stitch, basting stitch all the way around, trim it up, and then do a satin stitch all the way around it. And guys, you can even do this with the, I keep calling it thermolam. I think that's what it's called. I'm not exactly sure, but the heat resistant, you know, that keeps the heat towards the top and won't let it go to your table or anything. You can do that for these as well. But friends, thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please give me a thumbs up, hype the video, share it, subscribe to the channel if you like these types of things. I like to come up with projects on a whim. This was on a whim. I actually thought about it this morning and I was like, there's me a video. I want to do this because I wanted to see if I could do that. But give me a thumbs up before you head out. Subscribe if you have not yet. Feel free to leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally. And as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Bye, friends.